Welcome everyone to November's Brynka Beacon. Our presentation will be starting momentarily. Good morning, everyone. We have about 1 minute till 11 o'clock, so we'll be starting November's Brynka Beacon momentarily. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for November's Brynka Beacon. This month, we'll be considering Bucknell University Locker Video Case Study. So thank you so much for joining us. The Brynka Beacon is a forum for sharing ideas, so we invite you to listen, learn, and participate. You will notice in your GoToWebinar box a question area where you can enter questions at any time, and we'll be stopping throughout the presentation to take a moment to answer your questions. On the Brynka team side of things, we have myself, I'll be your host today, Jennifer Young, Director of Sales with Brynka. Our president is Brenda Fick, and we also have online today Joe Martinez, our vice president, who's the organizer of our presentation. Hi, Joe.
Hello, good morning.
And then our special guest speakers today from Bucknell University, we have Tom Lydon, Director of Publications, Print and Mail, and also Dana Kemberling, Student Mail Service Coordinator. So thank you both for joining us today.
Yeah, glad to be here.
So to start our presentation, we're just going to show you a little before and after picture of what Bucknell University looked like a few months ago and what they look like today. So they had traditional mailboxes, as you see here over on the left, and they decided to put in intelligent package lockers with us here at Brynka using Smart One lockers from Luxor One. And we're going to show you a little video about how that all happened and some of the advantages that they've had in implementing this new process. And then later in our show, we're also going to talk about budgets and how they were able to get a project of this size approved. So one moment here. We're going to pull up our video. One moment, we're just having a technical difficulty here pulling this video up, but we'll have it right off and playing momentarily. Okay, here we go.
A few years ago, the university decided to increase the enrollment on campus, and at that time we knew we were going to have to address how many mailboxes we had for the students. So it was a time to actually look into, do we need to get more mailboxes, or do we have to look into something new?
Over the years, we've seen an increase in package ordering from students.
As we investigated what options we had for delivering student packages, we looked at data that we had collected over the years, and 8 years prior, we were delivering about half the amount of packages that we had before. We were under 50,000, and in those 8 years, we had increased to 100,000. So we knew we had to address how the increase in packages is going to be handled. The three main challenges were the renovations to the space. We were going to have to remove all of the traditional mailboxes in order to put enough lockers in. Also, the timing was challenging in that we only had a window of the summer to both renovate and train before the semester started, before our busiest time. And also, we did have to justify the cost of the whole project. With the increase in package accounts, we really needed a better way to address the students' needs.
At the start, it was fun. It was very user-friendly, and we love it because we don't have a line at the window, and students can pick up their packages 24/7.
Like you can make it to the window hours to like classes. You just have to be there. So it's also just like fun to do. Yeah, it's just a surprise. Yeah.
Like I said, no line at the service window, which around lunchtime and at the beginning of the semester, the line would start forming at 10:30. We open at 11, and the line would kind of go through the whole building.
I think that they're awesome. It's significantly faster to get the package.
We no longer have the mailboxes. We enter all the letter mail into Brynka, and we place it in a mail folder. The student gets an email per letter, as well as packages in the same manner, and they come to the window to pick up their letter mail. Everything gets processed to the lockers, except for the oversized. We have small, medium, and large lockers, and they're filled at various times through the day.
We've been with Brynka for the last 12 years at that time, and we wanted to continue with them. They really respond to our needs, and they didn't disappoint with this larger implementation.
The installation, Brynka went above and beyond. They were here and just helped to customize any little thing on the receiving screen or delivery screen that we needed.
You could tell that Brynka and Lexer One have a close relationship. They really responded to the needs that we had specifically for here. As for Brynka being a partner, I think they're a great partner. They really are an extension of our team. They understand what we need, and they're very responsive to anything we need going forward.
Okay, great. Thanks for viewing that with us. We're going to jump back here to our presentation. And we first want to also thank Bucknell for working with us to put this video together. We really appreciate your help with that. And just also wanted to make it known too that we would like to do more video case studies like this. So if you're listening in today and you would like to work with Brynka on a video case study of your school's Brynka solution, please feel free to reach out to us at info@brynka.com. So first, to get started off here, we're going to take a poll. So if you take a look at your GoToWebinar, the poll is going to ask, are you still using traditional mailboxes? So you're going to see the poll pop open on your screen, and you'll select from the 3 multiple choice answers, yes, or yes, but not as much volume, or no, not at all. So we'll wait momentarily here as our audience answers the poll, and we'll get our percentages. Joe, let us know when you have those poll results available. Okay, Joe, how's the poll looking?
Great. We have the poll results here. About 18% saying yes, 36% yes, but not as much volume, and 45% no.
Okay, great. So now we're going to move back to our presentation. And Tom, we're going to start with asking you today, so who was it within your organization that first even had the idea to look into a solution like this for your mail center?
Jen, I was trying to think back, and I can't remember exactly the very first discussion that we had, but I do know, and I wanted to share with everybody, I do know our initial thought was we were a little reluctant actually to go that route because, excuse me, it's a front-loading solution, and we weren't really sure how that fit would be for us. And then around that time, or within the year, the university announced that we were going to increase enrollment over the course of a few years. And we knew we had a little bit of wiggle room on how many traditional mailboxes we had, but we knew we couldn't absorb a couple years of increases. So that's when we started looking at actually adding mailboxes for a split second, and then we decided we got to stop and look for something else. So it was around that time also that Lewisburg University, which is pretty close to us, they had completed a new student space, including some intelligent package lockers. So we did take a trip to go take a look at that. That kind of opened our eyes.
Okay, great. Awesome. So now I know that you mentioned in the video that one of the challenges you faced in implementing a project of this size was getting your budget approved. So could you explain to our listeners today what the process and steps were that you went through to first pitch this idea to those whose approval you needed?
Okay. Yeah, it was a pretty big project. I would say going back just a step prior, I'm going to say this probably a couple of times today, but really need to do a site visit to see how it works. So if you can find a university that has it, it's really hard at least it was hard for me to conceptualize how it was going to work for us. So if you can find that, or if you're close to us, you're welcome, stop here or talk to Brynka, find a place. And then after the site visit, we just sat down with the team and talked about how this would impact our operation. Really, I know this is getting off on a tangent here, but really the changes to your package workflow, your notifications, and for us, space was a huge issue. We had to get renovations done. So I would, take all that into consideration. And then I pitched the idea to my director along with some data that we have been collecting on how many, packages we've been taking in over the years to show the trends. But ultimately, we had to submit a capital request showing how much it was going to cost and write a justification, mostly including that data on how it was going to benefit the students and the university as a whole. We did, just as a side note, we did put this in probably 2 fiscal years in advance because we knew the preparation was going to be pretty big.
Yes, that's a great suggestion too. Do you envision this is a route that you'd like to see your mail center go to really start planning now, even if it is a year or two out, that you can work that into budgets now. So let's explore a little bit more about the plan or the actual data that you did provide to justify the spending of these capital funds on your mail center. So what specific data did you collect and present to help prove your case?
The two key pieces were package counts and letter mail counts that we had collected. So as I mentioned in the video, I think probably 8 years before we were looking at doing this, we were at about 48,000 packages a year. And at the time we were thinking we needed to change, we had already eclipsed 100,000 packages. So, in the course of 8 years, we were over doubling with relatively the same amount of student population. I don't think it's changed over the years that much. And then conversely, the letter mail that we were tracking had decreased about equally. It was about half. So just showing the lines and students, the struggles they were having with getting mail within our certain window of hours and providing that data really was huge.
Okay, great. And we can see this is what your enhanced student experience looks like now. So what do you think it was that really sold them on the idea of going with a solution like this?
I think at least when I look back on it, it wasn't a request like for our department that we wanted it. We really just framed it as, this was a student service, for better quality of life for the students. I mean, their packages have changed so much over the years, how students are ordering and how much and what, that it was a pretty easy sell to say this is really for the students.
Okay, great. And then what do you think, Tom, you would personally recommend to other schools that have to go through the process of getting budgets approved for larger implementations?
I mean, a little repetitive, but I would say, make sure you can collect some data. I mean, make sure you know how much has been coming in and how it's changed. And then I would really stress the innovation of the project as well, because we have student tours coming through, prospective students through the student space all the time. And even when we were just renovating and we were just talking about what it was going to be, the admissions tour counselors were talking it up so much that I just think it just shows prospective students in particular, and maybe their parents, that there's an investment in the student body that we're taking, and beyond that, what else? So I just think it just shows what you're investing into that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the way your school specifically set it up, even with skinning the lockers and what we helped you with as far as customizing the screens with your logos, I think that really adds to the whole marketing of it, the look of it, and really enhancing that student experience even more so.
Thanks.
So now, Dana, as someone who works in the mail center every day, how would you say this type of technology has made your job a little easier?
Well, we have shorter lines at the service window, which improves the students' mail and package pickup experience. They're happy because they don't have to wait in line, and if the students are happy, we're happy. And we have more space to handle the increase in the larger oversized packages. And because of this, we're able to become more organized, and we can find packages faster. And it's less stress trying to find packages during the busy times. We don't have to dig through piles and rows and go look at this location and that location, front of the office, back of the office, to find the packages. It's less clutter and improved workflow.
Okay, great. And then a simple question here, but can you ever imagine, Dana, going back to the old way of things?
Absolutely not. The summer of 2018, before we got the lockers, well, actually the fall, we were getting, in just September alone, 15,000 packages. And at certain days, we had trouble when UPS would bring truck after truck. We had trouble closing the door. We couldn't fit them in the backspace. We couldn't process them fast enough. We couldn't be processing packages in a timely manner and also serving students at the window. It was just very, very, very stressful. And this fall, I kept saying, can you imagine this without the lockers? Can you imagine this without the lockers? So absolutely not. No going back.
Awesome. Yeah, we have a little comic on screen now with birds, and 3 of them commenting how the one's using Wi-Fi. So it just kind of made me laugh when I saw that comic, thinking about how, when you're on the leading edge of technology, sometimes people are like, what are they doing? What are they, what's the thought process behind that? It might be hard for people to wrap their heads around the new workflows and the new ideas, kind of like how you mentioned, Tom, in the beginning. But really, once you get to that point, you can't imagine going back. And we hear that over and over again with schools and companies that implement these package lockers. So lastly, we just wanted to ask you both, and Dana, we'll start with you. What would you both say to schools out there that are listening today as to why they should consider having or even starting internal conversations about adding this type of technology to their mail centers?
Well, the students are the reason that we have jobs. They're the life of our university, and we have to understand and work to meet their needs. they are digital natives. They grew up with, technology at their fingertips. And if our services aren't up to date with the technology, it could affect the competitiveness of which school they're going to choose. Because I know when the tours come through, the parents and the students, they're just amazed by that, and embracing change is crucial.
That's great. Yeah. And Tom, what would you say as far as schools listening today, why they should consider having conversations about this type of technology?
I agree with what Dana says. Even now, months after, we launched in late August. Even students who have used it a lot, if you just hang out down there, they just get excited about it. There's kind of like a little sense of joy when the door just opens and they get their gift. So I just think it's just a well thought service for the students, just how they're receiving packages. So I would just implore people to, like I said already, collect the data, try to work on some justifications, talk with Brynka. If you're close to us or another university, go take a look. Brynka's been a great partner before the locker installation, as I said, for about a dozen years before. But they've been great partners as we move forward. We're only in year one of the lockers, but it's been a great partnership.
Yeah, we've loved working with you guys too. So Joe, I'm wondering, are there any questions out there for Dana or Tom as far as budget questions or questions about the lockers?
Surprisingly, we have no questions.
You guys are so thorough. Well, we'll give you a few moments here to think of any questions that you might want to type into the box before we wrap up today's webinar on this. Dana and Tom, again, we just want to thank you both too for being available to do this. I think it really does help people to talk to someone that's gone through this process already, to see, like the video case study, what your school actually, what the process looks like, what the hardware looks like up close. So we really appreciate you working with all of our listeners today and giving them the opportunity.
Well, feel free to, I saw our emails on that first slide. Feel free if anyone wants to email questions. There's a lot of pieces to this that, we learned over the year of kind of prepping for it and everything. So be glad to share whatever we went through. But I know, especially like notifications to how we handle package workflow, a lot of things change. So we're definitely open to talking to anybody if they even just want to talk it out.
Okay, great. So while we give people an opportunity to type in any questions they might have, we'll go to our last poll today. And that poll asks, have you started having internal conversations about lockers? And the options are, yes, you're starting to talk about it now. No, you haven't started, but you're chatting about it, or you're ready to start the process. So if our viewers can just take a moment to fill out our poll, and then Joe will announce the results as soon as we collect them all in here. And then at that point, you can let us know if we have any final questions as well, Joe.
Yep, we do have a few questions coming up. So after the poll, we'll go through those.
Okay, great. Great. Do we have our results?
Yes. So yes, starting to talk about it now, about 88%. No, haven't started chatting about it, 13%, and 0% ready to start the process at this point.
Okay, great. And then what questions did we have that came in, Joe?
Yep. So first question here that we have is, what kind of future proofing is there with the lockers and software? What happens after 5 years?
So that's a great question. A lot of times schools will sign up for either annual contracts for the lockers, or they'll pay an initial amount for the lockers up front, and then they just pay an annual fee for as long as they want to use the software and the locker maintenance, as long as they want to use them. The advantage, if someone's signing a lease, then usually that is a 60-year agreement. So at the end of the lease, you do own the lockers, just like you would when you purchase them up front with that same kind of contract. And then you would just pay a software and maintenance fee annually or monthly after the lease is up. So kind of the advantage of working with Brynka here too, and in a situation like this, is we can connect to multiple different locker companies. So if in 5 years there's some other locker companies on the market that, you know, have something new that wasn't available at the time that you went with your locker solution, we're able to keep your software piece the same and just connect to additional locker companies in the future. So that's kind of advantage of using Brynka as a partner too. We build our own APIs so that we're able to connect to various manufacturers out there, whereas some companies they have a sole partnership with a single locker company. So I think that answered that question.
The next question here is, do the lockers require any network connectivity?
So yeah, I'll take that question too. The lockers do require a power and internet connection. So if you sign up to do an online demo of the locker system with Brynka, we do go through a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation that also touches on things that are needed for installation. So as well as we have spec sheets, depending on the lockers that you choose, where outlets and Ethernet ports need to be put for installation. So we do take care of showing all of that to you.
Great. Next question is, any more info in justifying the cost?
So on our end, as far as Brynka goes, we do provide with our proposals now a return on investment. So if you're already an existing Brynka customer, that will show you what your savings will be on your current solution that you have with us for package tracking, and then what the additional cost of the lockers would be. And we also show a cost savings as far as the additional work that it would take off the mail center or relieve from the mail center. So some schools, when they go with these solutions, they find that they don't need the same number of student workers during the busy times if they pay student workers. Other schools, we had a school recently that called us and they had a full-time person retire, and they thought, well, we're at a point where we don't have anybody lined up for this job. So, you know, do you think the lockers could increase our process fast enough that it would justify maybe not hiring an additional full-time person? So if you kind of, when you talk with us and sign up for an online demo, let us know, you know, what type of student workers you have, full-time workers you have, and any thought processes as far as that, we can provide you with the return on investment for these as well.
I would just jump on that, Jen, here from Bucknell side too, is that, you know, we have a pretty good sized student worker group. And I think we're still seeing how that's shaking down. But for us, at least that way we get packages in, typically it's in the first half of the day. So we find we have shifted our workers to the morning more. And then I think what we're seeing is that we can pare that down in the afternoon to really just servicing the window, which has been pretty different than in the past, where we've had as many students as we could all the time. I think we're at a point now where we're looking, so far we're at less student hours than we were before, but the big picture is it's definitely changes how your students work. You need to load the lockers, and then we staff the window for letter mail and then the oversized packages. But it definitely has changed.
Yeah, and that's great. That's all data that you wouldn't have had before. So all the additional reporting and things that you get too can help you really maximize your workers, and when you're paying for staff, you know, having the people there at the right times when you have work for them to do.
Right.
The next question we have is, do you have one mailbox folder for each student?
I love this question. Go ahead, Tom.
But we don't. We have 500 folders. We looked at the first class letter mail that we were getting. We kind of tracked that before we moved to the lockers. And excuse me. We tried to come up with a number that would accommodate the turnover. And you have to keep in mind now students are getting notifications when they get letter mail. So we did work with our general counsel here on campus. We're not delivering the marketing mail anymore. So we didn't want students coming to the counter to pick up their local bank, ad. We didn't think that was a good use of students' time or our time. So we were able to get that cleared by the university. So we are only doing first class mail. The system is pretty nice in that when a new letter comes in and it's for, Steve, and he's already in the system, it will tell them he's in, 1, 2, 3. So you do get an opportunity. I will say that's probably been the biggest learning curve. I don't know, Dana, if you agree, but letter mail is a little bit of a different animal than it was before. So that might have been the part that was, I don't want to say least intuitive, but that's what we're working through now. Do you agree, Dan?
Yes, just trying to keep up with how long some of the mail has been in the folders, because the first, few weeks of the semester, we had to concentrate on packages and the books and everything. But we think, as the time goes on here, the mail folders, it'll just get easier and easier. The students are confused because, we all know they don't read their email or read even the heading that says you have a letter. So they're kind of confused when they come up. It says I have a letter to pick up. So there's, just learning.
And I should add, we're about 3,800 or so students, so we have 500 folders, just for scale.
Yeah, great. And then the software, just to jump into, does inform you once that student picks up the mail from that file folder, then that file folder is available to use by another student. So that's how that process works. We do also have online demos of just the file folder solution independently from the lockers or with the lockers as well. Any other questions, Joe?
Yes. Next one here is, how many students does Bucknell have, and was it an easy transition to the mail folders?
I think 3,800, we're in that range right now, students. So, and as I just said, mail folders probably, I think, I'm not down there every day, but I think it was one of the trickier, just to get the process down. But the hard part is too, and maybe every university is going to face this, is if you do it in the summer, that August, September time period is like our busiest time. So we kind of had to, it really went through the ringer there when we were learning it. So it's gotten better, I think, since we've gotten past that hump. But I think that was pretty inevitable.
We were kind of worried there at the beginning because, mom and dad and grandma and everybody sending cards and notes to their first year students and things like that. The folders would fill up, but that was just like a temporary thing. And now we have 150 or so just yesterday, I think, that were free.
Yeah, and I would add too, we had almost 4,000 students learning it for the first time, so that won't be every year. So, first years, obviously it'll be new to them every year, but hopefully every year that goes by, they'll have a better concept of how it works and learn it. So, you need to make sure you kind of market that, put that out there. There was one other thing. I also wanted to mention kind of along those lines, I don't know if other schools do box stuffings and other things like that. So we did come up with a different way to handle those. For now, we're putting them out kind of along our counter, but they were never, I don't know if other schools would agree, but they never really picked them up very well. So, we're talking about maybe down the line those becoming digital display boards, but for now we're just, we're not putting them in the folders, I guess is what I wanted to share.
Right, that's a great tip. Any other questions, Joe?
The last question we have here is, do you have any before and after surveys about the student feedback on picking up their parcels?
I don't think we really collected anything before, but I'll say, I think sure Dana would agree. I mean, when I was down there helping when in the beginning and we were checking, the students just loved it. I mean, even the students who were waiting in line, because in the beginning we couldn't get everything in the lockers the first couple weeks, they were all talking about how great it was. I mean, one thing to think about is our hours for the window were 11 to 5:30. So one thing we're monitoring now is how many packages are getting picked up outside of those hours that they couldn't before. So even when they had to come to the window, it wasn't like it used to be. So overall, I mean, students were, I don't know, giddy. I mean, they were excited. It was really, it lifted me up for sure, because it was busy at that time, but they were all happy about it. So.
Yeah, I got to say, Tom, I felt the same way when I came on site and we were shooting the video case study. You saw a couple testimonies in the video case study as far as what students thought, but that was just a little snippet of all the ones that we interviewed. So it was pretty exciting to see how excited, still months later after the installation, they were with the technology and really with the change. So I think overall that was a good experience for me to see as well.
Well, and it only took us a couple weeks to get through the big bulk, and now everything's going to the lockers. So the students have, we leave them in there for 48 hours before we pull them out, so they have time to come get them. So I think it's really working out. They're really excited.
And the packages have increased, because we were looking around Halloween, and this morning I just took a quick tally. September, the month of September's packages received, not letter mail, just packages, was it 17,000, and for September, and October was a little bit more than that. And I know Tom and I were talking, are they ordering more or what's going on here? And I just happened to ask one of my student staff this morning before I came onto the webinar, and she gave me some feedback and said that she's heard some of her friends and other students say, I don't need to wait in that long line. I don't need to get frustrated and be late for class, waiting for my package for a half hour. And they just are ordering more instead of saying, well, I'll take the bus and go out to Walmart and waste my time picking something up. Oh, well, now I'm just going to order it online, get it tomorrow, and go to the locker at my leisure and pick it up. And they love the 24/7 pickup. So
awesome.
I do believe that they are ordering more than before, just for maybe the joy of getting it or what.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I've talked to a few schools too that are either in both cases where they're in a big city and they don't want to have to Uber out to go get whatever they need. So they find it super convenient just to send everything to the lockers. And then the reverse too, schools that are in a more rural area, they don't want to have to drive out, so many miles to Walmart and back again. So same thing, just sending them to the lockers seems like a much more convenient way to go about that.
Oh, and just for a sense of scale too, if anyone doesn't know, the system that we have through Brynka, we can put multiple packages in a locker. So after we got past the beginning of the semester, we're getting a lot of books and smaller things. So if a student gets something and then later in the day we also find another one, we get alerted that we can add it to that same locker. So you get to fill them up pretty full. They're pretty full.
Yeah, and the file folders work the same way, right? So you can add multiple pieces of mail for the same student into a file folder. So that does save on the number of folders and lockers that you need. So is that it for questions then, Joe?
That is it.
Okay, great. Well, we want to thank everybody for joining us today. A special thank you again to Tom and Dana for all of your help with this. If anybody would like more information, our email and phone number are on the screen. Feel free to email us at info@brynka.com, and you will be getting an email with this video presentation in it, and that also has Tom and Dana's email, so feel free to reach out to any of us at any time. And thanks for joining us. We'll have news about December's Brynka Beacon broadcast coming in an email to you soon. Thanks. Have a great day, everyone.